Hello ladies and gentlemen, Gabester here. This is the DPS guide for Normal and Heroic Flamebender Kagraz. Overall DPS on this fight have it very easy if they're melee, and have to think about a lot more stuff if you're ranged, so plan accordingly. So first, basic positioning for melee should generally be in a back position behind the boss, away from where the ranged are. And this will depend on your overall strategy for handling the wolves, which we'll talk about later. For ranged, on the other hand, things get more complicated. You'll probably want to spread out around the outside of the room, as you see the raid markers indicate, about 11 or more yards from other people. You may also need to stack up with one partner at your position, just due to the amount of people you have, which is what we did. And if you want full diagrams and explanations, you can check out the full raid guide, the green link at the bottom left there. But the basic plan here is to stay spread from most players at maximum distance from where you need to be, and you should be fine. You'll notice that at the beginning of the fight, there's an ad called Aknor Steelbringer. He has very low health, and as DPS, you should just kill him off immediately. The faster he dies, the easier everything will be on you. Overall, he has low health though, so just kill him off first, and then you move on to the main course of the fight. Flamebender's first main mechanic is Lava Slash. This targets a random ranged DPS, so again, if you're melee, you don't have to think about it, other than not standing in it. If it targets you, it will create a line of fire between the boss and you. Just step to the side 1 or 2 yards to get out of it, and that's that. You don't have to think about it otherwise. If you are spread from most other players, the initial hit will not do much damage to anyone. The other core mechanic you'll see is summoning an Enchanted Armament, or essentially a weapon. And again, this targets random ranged players. Melee, you won't have to worry about it. If you get hit by a weapon, it will start to spin at your current location every few seconds for the remainder of the fight. So this is why you want to initially position spread away from other people at maximum distance, so that when a weapon spawns on you, it's at the maximum range it can be away from, the rest of the room and the rest of the raid. So just step forward a few yards when you get a weapon on you and proceed with the fight as normal. Now the first new ability the boss gains at 25 energy is Molten Torrent. So if you look in the bottom right of the screen there, you can see our shaman running in, and he is afflicted by Molten Torrent. This targets ranged players once again, and after 6 seconds with the debuff, you will explode and deal heavy fire damage to yourself, but you can split this damage with anyone within the circle. So there you can see our warlock coming in the top there. So the easiest way we found to deal with this is to just run into melee range and make sure that all the melee and tanks are within that circle radius. Once it explodes, you'll split the damage with them, not really be in any danger, and then you just move back out to your original position and proceed with the fight as normal. Now at 50 energy, Flamebender gains the most important ability of the encounter, for DPS especially. This is Cinder Wolves. This will summon a pair of 2 wolves from the back of the room, as you can see there. And initially, one of these will become overheated and larger, and this will be tanked by your tank and faced away from the raid. Because it has a breath attack you don't want to get hit by. The other wolf, the smaller one, will fixate on a random ranged player. Oh man. Anyway, that fixated player will need to kite the wolf around the open space in the room, making sure not to go behind the tanks so that you don't get breathed on by the other wolf. And after 10 seconds, the fixate will drop and it will target a new player and fixate on them, and the process repeats. During this period, all DPS need to kill the wolves. It's important that they die within 60 seconds of their spawn. The wolves do not share health, and they have to be killed simultaneously, or within 8 seconds essentially. If one wolf gets killed, it will start to heal itself, and after 8 seconds, if the other wolf is still alive, the original wolf will heal itself up. So, the wolves will also change their overheat status, essentially. So after a few seconds, the fixated wolf will then overheat and become tanked, and the other one will then fixate, and this will swap back and forth. So you just need to do your best to DPS the wolves evenly. Make sure you communicate and aren't afraid to switch targets. If you're using this spread mechanics, like we are here, you probably can't afford as a ranged DPS to chase down the fixated wolf if it's on the opposite side of the room, because you don't want, you know, a weapon spawning in the middle or something. So in that case, you're free to attack the wolf that's in melee, just making sure not to push it over too much if the kiting wolf is too high or whatever. So that's the basic rule of thumb, though. Wolves are always your primary focus when they're active. Make sure they die simultaneously, and if you get targeted by one as a range, just kite it around. Don't be afraid to step through fire lines temporarily. You can try to jump over them as well, and that's pretty much it. At 75 energy, the boss will use Blazing Radiance, and again this targets ranged DPS only. If you get targeted with this, you generally should communicate with anyone that's nearby you that they should move away. During the 10-second period, you will pulse fire damage to you and anyone within 10 yards. So if you just stay stationary and other people that are within that radius move away, you'll be fine. You generally do not want to move yourself if you're afflicted with it, because you don't want to threaten hitting other people that weren't threatened before. And you also don't want to be out of position in case you get targeted by, you know, a weapon or something like that. So generally you want to stay still and have other people that are with you move away, and just make sure you let them know. At 100 energy, the boss will use Firestorm for 12 seconds, which deals heavy fire damage to everybody. If you don't have any debuffs on you at the time, you should just run in and stack up with the raid, and this will help healing and cooldowns and all that good stuff. If you do have a debuff on you, usually like Blazing Radiance, just stay out of the raid, and you'll, you know, obviously get healed as normal. Maybe use a cooldown if you need to help survival. But otherwise, most people can stack up for it, and once the cast is over, spread back out to your original positions and proceed with the fight. The very last ability is Magma Monsoon. This is only going to be active after the first Firestorm actually completes, and then it will happen for about 30 seconds after each subsequent Firestorm. What you'll see is above the fire pool, a series of little fireballs will shoot out and target random players. This can actually target melee this time, believe it or not. So melee DPS in particular should sidestep to avoid these if possible. They do damage within about a 3-yard radius. It's not very large. Ranged, on the other hand, can sidestep if you're able to, but you often do not need to. It'll be up to your raid strategy, of course, but we found it was easier just to stand still and heal through the damage than to try to bother moving from them. Again, it only lasts 30 seconds, after which time there won't be any more fireballs to throw out until the next round of Firestorm ends. So overall, pretty simple ability. And that's it. That is the basic DPS guide for Normal and Heroic Flamebender Kagraz. Like I said, melee have it very simple. It's mostly just not getting breathed on by the overheated wolf and watching your DPS targets. Ranged have to deal with a lot more mechanics, but as long as you're spread properly with just you or perhaps a partner as well, you should be able to deal with them pretty easily. As always, good luck, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. You know what would really light my fire, heat up my cold dead heart? If you subscribed. Well, you could also just say hi to me walking down the street. That would probably do it too, but either way,